just a quick reminder that the charity drive that Half the Battle is doing is in full swing. So remember, donate to a charity that benefits children. Donate to a charity that benefits children. Send proof of your donation to joechristmascharity@gmail.com for a chance to win a European exclusive 1990 Tiger Force Psych Out. But that's not all. The winner will get even more. HCC 788 has added a 1985 Cobra Eel with all accessories to the pot. And the folks at joecustoms.com have put up an NJCC exclusive Boss Fight Studio Hacks Series 2 Red Blasted Landork as an additional prize. So, give big, give small, but do give. Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. Today we're going back to the comic. Let's take a look at issue 48, Slaughter. The cover shows Zartan in G.I.Joe headquarters, holding gung-ho and a gun. Gung-ho gun. Heh, Trigun reference out of nowhere. The opening page shows Destro checking to see if Storm Shadow is really dead, after the Baroness shot him last issue. And there's a continuity error straight away. You see, Stormy has what looks like a bullet hole in the head, while he was only shot in the chest. Anyway, Destro seems slightly annoyed the Baroness killed the ninja, while Mindbender wants the body for genetic material. And this is most of what we'll see of Cobra proper this issue, as the rest of the comic focuses on the Joes, Zartan, and Ripcord. The Zartan and Ripcord stories run parallel, so I'm gonna tackle them one at a time, instead of skipping back and forth. Zartan, who had disguised himself as Ripcord and was taken to G.I.Joe headquarters, is being treated by Doc, who notices the blood type is all wrong. Knowing he's been made, Zartan hologram disguises himself as Snake Eyes, clocks the Doc, and runs off. Scarlet and Snake Eyes find the Doc, and the alarm is sounded. This should be fun! I'm not even being sarcastic. Zartan, disguised as Tripwire this time, eludes the Joes until they run into the real Tripwire. Though I have to ask, none of them see the weird glowing effect? Is that just for the benefit of the reader, or are they just blind? More Joes join the search, and promptly tackle Snake Eyes, because last they heard, the intruder looked like him. After seeing his face though, they know he's the real deal. Poor Snake Eyes, he's already down about his childhood friend being killed, and now his own buddies start kicking his ass. And I remind you, this is Larry Hama's favorite character. They finally figure out they're dealing with a shapeshifter when two Docs show up at the same time. Meanwhile, up in the motor pool, a new Joe arrives. It's Sergeant Slaughter! Sort of. I mean, he's wearing the iconic hat, and the face is pretty good, but he's not wearing the Toys uniform. Also, there's no hint that he's a Saddam Hussein supporter. The Joes are mighty suspicious of him because of the whole intruder thing, and start going through his stuff. He doesn't take too kindly to that, and off-panel beats the ever-loving crap out of them. Meanwhile, Zartan escapes by turning invisible, though the effect looks more like he's turning into a being of pure light, and the chase is back on. Slaughter takes command upstairs and has the Joes guard all possible exits there. At this point, the G.I. Joe team has to get creative because Zartan is, well, invisible. And the comic does make use of the various specialties the Joes have. Like Barbecue spreading foam to see footsteps, and Blowtorch sending a fireball down corridors. Huh. Somebody watched Alien, didn't they? It didn't work there either, but kudos for trying. With the heat literally being on, Zartan turns into Duke and tries to bluff gung-ho. But it doesn't work, as the Joes are smart enough to not trust anybody on their word when there's a frickin' shapeshifter running around. The two of them end up fighting in the very, very roomy ventilation system. Seriously, look at the size of the ducts they're in. John McClane would be so jealous. Until they bust out on ground level in the chaplain assistant's reading room. Yeah, quick reminder. On top of the Joe's secret headquarters is a chaplain assistant's motor pool. and the people there have no idea the Joes operate there. And considering the amount of crap that's gone on there so far, these must be the most gullible soldiers since Season 1 Radar from MASH. Zartan pulls the old evil doppelganger trick we've seen so many times in fiction. I mean, it's happened to Captain Kirk alone at least 3 times, when he comes face to face with Sergeant Slaughter. The sergeant wrestles with the conundrum before him.
Wrestles, get it? I'm so funny. Thank God I have a day job.
Slaughter solves the problem by punching one of them out. And you know, on a meta level, this does make sense, since wrestlers' preferred method of handling any situation is punching somebody really hard. Zartan is the one that ends up getting knocked out, but Slaughter insists he only got lucky on a 50-50 chance. And that's all for Zartan's zany adventures this issue.
So now let's find out what Ripcord has been up to.
Since the Dreadnought Stinky Zartan, they've taken him to Springfield, Cobra's secret base of operations in the US, and he's recovering in the hospital. Buzzer starts explaining about taking Zartan's motorcycle.
Something that happened over a dozen freaking issues ago.
When he took Candy, Ripcord's ex-girlfriend, hostage. It does make sense that it took so long, since this is the first time they've really had a chance to interact. Ripcord is understandably more concerned about Candy than Zartan's motorcycle, so he kicks the crap out of the Dreadnought. Much like Slaughter, Ripcord also believes punching people fixes any problem.
I mean, he's not wrong. When I had trouble with my appendix, the doctors punched it and it soon sorted itself out. No, really. I learned that the way they diagnose appendicitis is by pressing down really hard on the area and see if the patient cries like a little girl. I mean, exhibits symptoms of pain.
Also, Ripcord clocks the guy with a bedpan. I only mention this because Sergeant Slaughter is in this issue. So, G.I.Joe had wrestlers and bedpan violence years before the WWE made it cool. Anyway, the Dreadnoughts figure Zartan has gone a bit crazy due to head trauma and take him away from Springfield since they don't want Cobra to know he's unstable. During a stop at a diner, Ripcord regains his calm and sneaks away to call the Joes. And he even keeps up the pretense to the bikers, suggesting they head back to Springfield. And that's pretty much it for the issue.
Except for one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, because it's barely a page long.
We get a few panels of a Cobra diplomat in a meeting at the State Department, suggesting the USA establishes official diplomatic relations with Cobra, since they are a country now, what with the whole island thing. The masked Cobra that's with the diplomat is a weird one. He's got the uniform of a Crimson Guard, but the colors of a Cobra trooper. I assume this is just a coloring error.
Since Crimson Guards are supposed to be crimson! Let's not bring that up again!
The very last page of the comic then has Hawk meeting up with a group of generals called the Jugglers. He thinks they're the guys who catch the flak when things go bad. They inform him Cobra Island is now off limits, suggesting that Cobra has established diplomatic relations with America, though they don't tell Hawk this. And that was Slaughter.
It was really, really good. I mean, I have a few nitpicks if you want them.
For one panel, Stalker appears to be white. It's more pronounced in the classic straight paperback than the original comic, but it's there too. As for Zartan, they usually get his face, makeup pretty right, but for one shot, he looks more like the comedian from Watchmen than Zartan. Speaking of Zartan, Doc mentions his blood isn't quite human. It almost has chameleon qualities.
This begs the question, could Zartan be one of the only metahumans in the G.I.Joe comic?
Next, let's talk about the title, Slaughter. Since we don't see any slaughtering, the title has to refer to the sergeant, though the issue isn't focused on him. Sure, he gets to be a badass, but the story is about Zartan and Ripcord. Couple that with him not having his toy uniform, I get the feeling he was forced in by Hasbro. Yeah, I don't think Larry Hama liked the character very much. For proof, there's a huge event that starts next issue, involving practically all the Joes, but Slaughter ain't among them. Overall, though, this was a great issue and definitely worth a read.
Though I have to admit, with the Joes running around after Zartan in the pit, at one point Yakety Sax started playing in my head. Now, this is normally the point where I say I'll see you next time. But October is upon us, and you know what that means. That's right, next week Monster Month starts, so I leave you in the capable hands of the ghost. I guess I'll see you in November. Well, except for charity updates, obviously.